The blue alien's hands shook as she stood in the great meeting hall. Her name was Kara, and she was the speaker for her dying world. Around her, hundreds of other aliens from her people sat in tall crystal chairs. Their blue skin was pale with fear. The light that usually came from their bodies was dim and weak. Above them all, giant screens showed the same terrible picture over and over. Black ships filled with death were moving through space. Behind them, planets that once had life were now empty rocks floating in the dark. The enemy had a name that made everyone afraid. They called them the Devourers. Kara looked at the faces around her. These were the leaders of her people, the Zephyrians. They had ruled the stars for thousands of years. Their cities were made of crystal that sang in the wind. Their technology was so advanced that other aliens came to learn from them, but now they were all going to die. Friends, Kara said, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall, the Devourers have eaten 17 of our worlds in just 1 month. Our warships are broken. Our weapons do nothing to them. They learn from every attack we make. In 6 days, they will reach our homeworld. An old alien named Vex stood up. Slowly, his body was bent with age, and his blue skin was covered in scars from old battles. We have tried everything, he said. We asked our friends for help. Some ran away. Others were eaten by the Devourers. Big space government has no ships to send us. We are alone. Silence filled the hall. Side the crystal walls, they could see ships leaving the planet. Families were running away, hoping to find safety somewhere in the stars, but there was nowhere to go. The Devourers would follow. They always followed. A young female alien named Zara jumped up from her seat. Her eyes were bright with an idea. That might be crazy. What about the humans? She asked. The word made everyone stop talking. Humans, the strange aliens from a small part of space that no one understood. Most of the galaxy thought humans were wild and dangerous. They fought each other all the time. They lived on one small blue planet and a few nearby worlds. They were not part of the big space government. They kept to themselves. The humans are not our friends, said Vex. They are too different from us, too violent. They solve problems by hitting them. But they never give up, Zara said. I have read the old stories from the border wars. When humans fight, they do not stop. Even when they should be dead, they keep fighting. Even when they have no hope, they find a way. Kara felt something she had not felt in weeks. Hope. It was small and weak, but it was there. The humans are not like us, she said. Think before we act. We make plans. We do things the right way. But maybe the right way is not working anymore. The hall was quiet again. Everyone was thinking about the humans. Stories about them were told in whispers. They said humans would fight with broken weapons. They said humans would fly broken ships into enemy vessels just to cause damage. They said humans never knew when they were supposed to lose. They will think we are weak for asking, said another alien. We have always acted like we were better than them. Now we want their help. Then, we tell them the truth, Kara said. We are weak. We are dying. We need them. Vex shook his head. Humans might say no. Why should they help us? We never help them, Zara said, standing up straighter. If the Devourers finish eating us, they will keep eating. They will eat every world, every people, until they reach the humans too. This is not just our war anymore. The idea spread through the hall like fire. If the Devourers were not stopped here, they would grow stronger. They would eat more worlds, more people. Eventually, they would eat the whole galaxy. Even the humans would not be safe. Kara walked to the center of the hall. We have a choice, she said. We can die with pride, fighting alone and losing. Or we can live by asking for help from people we do not understand. I choose to live. One by one, the aliens in the hall stood up. They held up their hands to vote. The light from their bodies grew a little brighter. For the first time in weeks, they had hope. The vote was the same from everyone. Yes, they would go to the humans within hours. The fastest ship they had was racing through space toward the human worlds. Inside the ship was a message that would change everything. It was simple and honest. It said, "We are dying. We have tried everything. You are our last hope. Please help us." The ship pilot was an old Zephyrian named Tech. He had never been to human space before. As his ship flew through the darkness, he wondered what the humans would say. Would they laugh? Would they turn them away? Would they help? Behind him, his home world continued to send people away in ships. But there were not enough ships for everyone. Millions would stay behind. They would wait and hope that somehow the wild humans from the small blue planet would save them all. The message was sent. Now they could only wait and pray that the stories about human stubbornness were true. That when everyone else gave up, humans would find a way to fight. That when all hope was lost, humans would refuse to believe it. In the darkness of space, the Devourer ships moved closer to the Zephorian homeworld. They moved slowly, knowing they had already won. They had eaten stronger enemies than these, crystal builders. But they did not know about the message flying toward human space. They did not know that the galaxy was about to learn what happened when you made humans angry. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his warship, looking at the strange message on his screen. He had read it 5 times now, but it still seemed impossible. The ship around him was called the Indomitable, and it was one of Earth's best fighting ships. His crew worked quietly at their stations, but he could feel how nervous they were. Outside the big front window, Jake could see an alien ship waiting at the edge of their star system. It was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. The ship was made of some kind of crystal that caught the light from their sun and threw it back in colors Jake had never seen. Inside that ship were the aliens who had sent the message asking for help. "Sir," said Lisa, the woman who handled their radio calls, "the alien ship is sending another message. They want to talk to our leaders right away." Jake nodded. This was bigger than just one ship captain could handle. The aliens were asking Earth to go to war against something called the Devourers. From what Jake could understand, these Devourers ate entire worlds and everything living on them. A blue light appeared next to Jake, and suddenly Admiral Kate Sullivan was standing there. Well, not really standing there. It was just a picture of her sent from Earth. But it looked real enough. It was an old soldier with gray hair and lines on her face from years of hard choices. "Jake," she said, "the president has made his decision. We are going to help them." The people working on the bridge all looked at each other. Everyone knew this day might come. Since humans first learned they were not alone in the galaxy, they had been getting ready. They watched other alien races rise and fall from far away, always wondering when it would be their turn to step into the big fight. "Ma'am," Jake said, "we do not have many ships. Maybe 200 that could make the trip to their space. Aliens say this enemy has already destroyed thousands of their ships." Admiral Sullivan's face got harder. "Captain, there is something you need to know about these Devourers. The alien data shows they do not just kill people. They eat everything. They leave planets completely empty, like nothing ever lived there. If they finish with the aliens, they will keep growing. One day, they will come for us." Jake felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. This was not just about helping some aliens he had never met. This was about keeping his own people alive, his own planet safe. "How long do we have to get ready?" Jake asked. "The aliens think their homeworld has 6 days before the Devourers get there. We need to be there in 4 days if we want any chance to help." Jake turned to look at his crew. These were good people. They had families back on Earth. They had lives they wanted to get back to. But he could see in their faces that they understood. Sometimes you had to fight not because you wanted to, but because there was no choice. "You heard the Admiral," Jake said to his crew. "Tell everyone to get ready for war." Down in the engine room, Chief Engineer Pete Collins was already working. He was a big man with rough hands who could fix anything. Right now he was looking at reports about alien technology, trying to understand how their weapons worked. "This is crazy," he said to his helper, a young woman named Amy. "Their energy weapons are like nothing we have ever seen. But look at this data. They are too clean, too perfect. Always do exactly what they are supposed to do." Amy looked over his shoulder at the numbers. "Is that bad?" Maybe Pete said. "If the enemy can learn from attacks, then weapons that always work the same way become useless." "But our weapons are different. They break down. They do unexpected things. Sometimes they work better than they should, sometimes worse. The enemy might not know how to handle that. On the command deck, Jake was talking to other ship captains through the radio. Captain Tony Martinez commanded a ship called the Relentless. Captain Nancy Wright led the crew of the Valiant. All across human space, ship captains were getting the same orders. Get ready to fight an enemy that had never been beaten. This is insane, Tony said over the radio. We are going up against something that has eaten entire civilizations. What makes anyone think we can win? We do not have to win, Jake said. We just have to not lose long enough to figure out how to win. It was a very human way of thinking. Most aliens planned every detail before they fought. Humans planned to, but they also knew that plans always went wrong. The trick was to keep fighting even when everything fell apart. Dr. Helen Torres was the science officer on Jake's ship. She was looking at all the information the aliens had sent about the Devourers. What she saw made her afraid, but also gave her ideas. Captain, she said, these Devourers are smart, but they think like machines. They see a problem, they adapt, they solve it. But what if we do not give them problems to solve? What if we just cause chaos? Jake smiled for the first time since. The alien message had arrived. You mean we do what we do best? We make it up as we go along? All across human space, ships were getting ready for war. Not the careful, planned war that other aliens fought. This would be a human war. Messy, loud, and completely unpredictable. The alien ship waited patiently at the edge of the system. Inside, the aliens wondered what the humans would decide. Did not know that the decision was already made. They did not know that in just a few hours, the largest human fleet ever assembled would be racing through space to help them. They did not know that they had just called the one species in the galaxy that was too stubborn to know when they were supposed to give up. The alien homeworld was the most beautiful thing Commander Ryan Brooks had ever seen. The tall crystal towers reached up toward two suns that shone in the purple sky. The light bounced off the crystals and made rainbow colors dance across the city. But the beauty was broken by the sight of ships leaving the planet. Thousands of alien families were running away, trying to escape before the Devourers arrived. Ryan stood in the war room with the alien military leaders. The room was made of the same singing crystal as everything else on the planet. When the wind blew, the walls made soft music. But today, nobody was listening to the music. Everyone was too scared. Your battle plans will not work, Ryan told. General Vex, the alien commander. Vex was tall and thin, like all his people, with blue skin that glowed softly. Right now, his glow was very dim with worry. These formations have protected us for thousands of years, Dex said, pointing to the battle maps. The alien ships were arranged in perfect patterns, like flowers or snowflakes. Every ship had its exact place. Every movement was planned. And that is why you are losing, Ryan said. He knew his words were rude, but there was no time to be polite. The enemy learns from your attacks. If you always fight the same way, they will always beat you. Lieutenant Amy Parker stood nearby and made a worried face. She knew Ryan was being too direct with the aliens. But Ryan kept talking. You need to be random. You need to do things that make no sense. The enemy cannot adapt to chaos because chaos has no pattern. In another part of the room, human and alien engineers were trying to work together. Sergeant Pete Collins was fixing an alien power system. His rough human hands looked strange, holding the delicate crystal parts. But somehow, he made it work. These energy systems are amazing, Pete called out to Dr. Helen Torres. Helen was the human science expert, and she was looking at alien technology on her computer. But they are built for efficiency, not power. Can you change them, Helen? Asked Pete, grinned. Give me 6 hours and enough coffee to stay awake, and I will make these things roar like Earth's engines. While Pete worked, other humans and aliens were learning about each other. The aliens were surprised by how quickly humans could understand new ideas. The humans were amazed by how well the aliens worked together. Captain Nancy Wright was teaching alien pilots how to fly like humans. Forget about flying in straight lines, she told them. Spin, dive, do things that look crazy. If it looks stupid but it works, then it is not stupid. The alien pilots were having trouble with this idea. They had been taught that there was always a right way to do things. The idea of doing something wrong on purpose was very hard for them to understand. Meanwhile, human soldiers were learning alien weapons. The crystal guns shot beams of pure energy that never missed their target. But they only worked one way. "What if we break them a little bit?" asked Corporal Danny Ross. He was a young soldier who liked to take things apart and put them back together. "What if we make them work wrong?" The alien weapon maker, whose name was Zill, looked shocked. "Break them? But then they will not work properly." "Exactly," Danny said with a smile. "The enemy expects your weapons to work properly. What if they do not?" As the hours passed, something wonderful started to happen. The aliens began to see that the human way of thinking was not just different, it was useful. The humans began to understand that alien cooperation and sharing made everyone stronger. Dr. Torres worked with an alien scientist named Ken to combine human and alien technology. "Your crystals store energy perfectly," Helen said. "Our systems release energy in bursts. What if we put them together? The result will be completely unpredictable," Ken said. "Perfect," Helen replied. Outside the Crystal City, human and alien ships were practicing together. Alien ships flew in their beautiful formations, while human ships zipped around them like angry bees. At first, it looked like complete chaos. But slowly, the two styles began to work together. Commander Brooks watched the practice battles from the command center. General Vex stood beside him, and for the first time in days, the alien's skin was glowing a little brighter. "I am beginning to understand," Vex said. "You do not fight to win. You fight to not lose. You keep fighting until you find a way to win." "Now you are getting it," Brooks said. "We do not give up. Ever. Even when we should." But their time was running out. The long-range sensors showed the Devourer fleet getting closer. The enemy ships were huge, each one the size of a city. They moved through space like a disease, leaving empty worlds behind them. 18 hours, reported the alien sensor operator. "The Devourers will be here in 18 hours. Brooks looked around the command center. Human and alien officers worked side by side now, sharing ideas and plans. It should have been impossible. Two completely different species learning to fight together in just a few days. "Are we ready?" Vex asked. Brooks thought about the human ships with their patched-up weapons and crazy battle plans. He thought about the alien ships with their new, unpredictable modifications. He thought about crews from two different worlds learning to trust each other. "Ready?" Brooks said. "Probably not. But that has never stopped us before." The combined fleet moved into position around the planet. Human ships scattered throughout the alien formations like seeds in the wind. Everyone knew the odds were impossible. The enemy had 50 ships for every one of theirs. But as the hours counted down to battle, something special was happening. The humans were teaching the aliens how to hope when hope was gone. The aliens were teaching the humans how to work together toward a common goal. When the Devourers arrived, they would face something they had never seen before. Two species that should have nothing in common, fighting as one. An enemy that refused to follow any rules or patterns. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when human stubbornness met alien determination. The Devourer ships came out of the darkness like a nightmare made real. Each ship was bigger than a city, their black hulls covered in strange green lights that seemed to eat the starlight around them. There were hundreds of them moving in perfect formation toward the alien homeworld. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the enemy fleet approach. His tactical screen showed the numbers, and they were terrible. The Devourers had 50 ships for every human, an alien ship combined. Any sane military leader would have ordered a retreat, but humans were not always sane. "All ships, this is Morrison," Jake said into his radio. "Execute Operation Madness." I repeat, execute Operation Madness. The alien ships stayed in their formations, their crystal hulls shining as they charged their weapons. But the human ships did something that made no sense at all. They scattered in every direction like startled fish. Captain Nancy Wright dove her ship, the Valiant, straight into the middle of the Devourer fleet. Her engines screamed as she twisted and turned between the massive enemy ships. Behind her, Captain Tony Martinez spun his destroyer, the Relentless end over end, while firing his guns in all directions. "They have lost their minds," whispered General Vex, watching the human ships from the alien command center. "That is the point," Commander Brooks said with a wild smile. "The Devourers learn from logical attacks. But you cannot learn from pure craziness." The human changes to alien technology began to show their worth. Weapons that had been built for perfect accuracy now fired in random patterns. Shields that had been designed for efficiency now pulsed with raw, dangerous power. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Adams led a group of small human fighter ships toward the biggest Devourer vessel. His voice came over the radio. "Remember, we are not trying to win this fight. We are trying to be so crazy that they cannot figure out how to beat us." The Devourer fleet, for the first time in their long history of eating worlds, stopped moving. Their ships had computers that could adapt to any attack, learn from any strategy. But the human ships were not using strategy. They were using chaos. A human ship that should have been destroyed by the first enemy shot kept fighting with half its hull blown away. Another ship flew backwards while shooting, its pilot laughing over the radio. A third ship actually rammed into a Devourer vessel, its crew somehow surviving the crash and continuing to fight. From inside the enemy ship, the Devourers had never faced anything like this. Their computers could not understand what the humans were doing because the humans did not understand it either. They were making it up as they went along, in the engineering section of the Alien Command Center. Pete Collins was working frantically on the planet's defense systems. Sweat poured down his face as he connected human technology to alien crystals in ways that should have been impossible. "How are you doing that?" asked Zill, the alien engineer who was helping him. "I stopped trying to make it work right," Pete said. "Now I am trying to make it work wrong." Above them, the battle was getting stranger by the minute. The alien ships, inspired by human craziness, began to abandon their perfect formations. Crystal ships started spinning and looping through space, their crews learning to embrace chaos. An alien captain named Cole found himself flying his ship upside down while shooting at 3 Devourer vessels at once. "This is insane," he said over the radio.
"Yes, it is,"
replied Nancy Wright as she flew past him going the wrong direction. "Is it not wonderful?" The Devourer ships began to move slower, their formation breaking apart. Their adaptive computers were overloading, trying to process attack patterns that had no pattern at all. Some enemy ships actually stopped firing, their systems frozen by the impossibility of what they were seeing. Then Pete Collins finished his work on the planetary defenses, instead of the steady, predictable energy beams that the Devourers expected. The planet's surface erupted in a storm of wild power. Lightning danced between the crystal towers. Energy waves crashed against each other in the sky. The very air seemed to catch fire. "What did you do?" General Dex demanded. "I made the defense grid drunk," Pete said, wiping sweat from his face. "Now it does not know what it is supposed to do, so it is doing everything at once." The combination of chaotic human tactics and unpredictable alien technology was too much for the Devourers. Their ships, built to adapt and overcome, could not adapt to enemies who did not follow any rules. A massive Devourer command ship, larger than any of the others, tried to retreat. But Lieutenant Colonel Adams and his fighter squadron were waiting. They flew their tiny ships in a spiral pattern around the giant vessel, their weapons firing in random bursts. "This is impossible," Adams said over the radio. "Should all be dead by now." "Then let us stay impossible," replied Jake Morrison, as he flew the Indomitable through a gap that was too small for his ship. Somehow he made it through anyway. Battle that should have lasted minutes stretched on for hours. The Devourers, creatures that had eaten entire civilizations, found themselves losing to an enemy that refused to make sense. Their adaptive algorithms failed. Their perfect coordination broke down. Their confidence cracked. One by one, the Devourer ships began to retreat. First the damaged ones, then the healthy ones. Finally, even the command ships turned away from the alien homeworld and fled into the darkness. The combined human and alien fleet watched in amazement as the most feared enemy in the galaxy ran away. Ships that had been fighting for their lives just moments before now floated quietly in space, their crews trying to understand what had just happened. "Did we win?" asked an alien pilot over the radio. "I think so," replied Tony Martinez, "though I am not sure how." Jake Morrison looked at his tactical screen. The Devourer fleet was gone, scattered to the far edges of the star system. For the first time in their history, they had met an enemy they could not understand or defeat. "All ships," Jake said over the radio. "Good work. Now let us go home and figure out what we just did." 6 months after the Great Battle, the galaxy was a completely different place. The Devourer fleet had broken apart and run away to the far edges of space. Without their ability to adapt to attacks, they were just another enemy that could be fought and beaten. In the great meeting hall of the Galactic Federation, Ambassador Kara stood before hundreds of alien leaders once again. This time, she was not alone and afraid. Beside her stood Ambassador Carol Henderson, the first human to speak for Earth in the galactic government. "Today we vote on something that will change our future," Kara announced to the gathered aliens. "We ask you to invite humanity to join the Galactic Federation as full members." Every alien in the hall raised their hand to vote yes. It was not really a surprise. Humanity had already proven they belonged here in the most important way possible. They had saved everyone in the months after the battle. Human ideas had spread to every corner of Federation space. The old ways of fighting with perfect formations and predictable strategies were replaced by new tactics that kept enemies guessing. Military academies that had taught the same lessons for thousands of years now had human instructors teaching chaos theory and random warfare. Dr. Helen Torres, now the head of the Joint Human-Alien Research Center, had made discovery after discovery. Human creativity mixed with alien precision was creating technology that neither species could have built alone. We call it the chaos principle. Helen explained to a room full of alien scientists. Instead of making perfect systems, we add controlled randomness on purpose makes our technology unpredictable and incredibly adaptive. The alien scientists, who had spent their lives trying to make everything work perfectly, were amazed by the idea of making things work imperfectly on purpose. But they could not argue with the results. The new hybrid technology was far more powerful than anything they had built before. Captain Jake Morrison. Now, Admiral Morrison commanded the new joint fleet that protected the outer systems. His ships were crewed by humans and aliens working together, all learning the human philosophy of figure it out as you go. On one of his ships, the Harmony, human engineer Pete Collins worked alongside alien technician Zill to repair a damaged engine. Pete was teaching Zill how to fix things with whatever materials were available, while Zill was teaching Pete how to make repairs that would last for centuries. "Your people think too much about the future," Pete said as he used alien crystal to patch a human power conduit. "Sometimes you just need to make it work right now. Your people do not think enough about the future," Zill replied as he carefully aligned the crystal matrix. "Sometimes a quick fix creates bigger problems later." "We do both," Pete said with a grin. Quick fixes that somehow last forever. It was becoming the new way throughout the galaxy. Human improvisation balanced with alien planning, alien cooperation enhanced with human determination. Neither species was complete without the other. On Earth, President Williams spoke to his people from the White House. 6 months ago, we were asked to help save a dying alien race. Today, we are part of a galactic community that is stronger than it has ever been. We did not just save the Zephyrians. We helped save the galaxy itself. But the most important change was in the relationship between humans and aliens. The two very different ways of living had found common ground in their shared fight for survival. On the alien homeworld, it's now called Luminara by both species, there was a special garden built to honor those who died in the battle. The garden was a perfect example of the new partnership. Alien crystal formations provided structure and beauty, while human-designed sections created wild patterns that changed every time you looked at them. Ambassador Carol Henderson walked through the garden with her alien friend Kara. The two had Become close during the long months of rebuilding after the battle. You know, Carol said, when your people first asked us for help, I do not think anyone expected it to turn out like this. Kara's skin glowed with the soft blue light that meant she was happy and content. We called you because we were desperate. We thought you would fight bravely and die with honor alongside us. Instead, we all lived and changed everything, Carol said with a smile. The galaxy needed changing, Kara replied. It had become too set in its ways, too predictable. Sometimes it takes a species of beautiful, crazy people to show everyone else how to really live. Above them, the two suns of Luminara set behind the crystal towers, painting the sky in colors that had no names. The light danced through the crystals and created new patterns every second. It was chaos and order working together to make something beautiful. In the months that followed, other alien species joined the new partnership. The tentacled philosophers of Rigel brought their deep thinking. The machine builders of Vega contributed their precise engineering. The warrior poets of Centauri added their fierce loyalty. But at the center of it all were humans and Zephyrians. The two species that had learned that being different was not a weakness, it was a strength. The galaxy was huge and full of dangers. There would be new enemies, new challenges, new problems that seemed impossible to solve. But now there was also something new to face those challenges with. There was hope. There was cooperation. There was the knowledge that when everything seemed lost, when all plans failed, when the smart thing to do was give up, there were humans who would refuse to quit, and there were aliens who would stand beside them. The age of predictable warfare was over. Age of impossible victories had begun. And in the vast darkness of space, among billions of stars and countless worlds, the message was clear: never give up, never surrender. And when all else fails, call the humans, they will find a way.